Hi everyone, it's Taya. Welcome to my channel where you'll learn the best tips and tricks on studying, productivity, and organization. Now I know today's video seems super out of context for my channel, but believe it or not, a dog can cause a big change in your life that can lead to a drop in productivity, organization, etc. But that's only if you're not prepared. Now it's Christmas time and we're in quarantine, so I know everyone is fiending for a cute little puppy. I know this because I was the same way last year. Now, I actually went and got a dog, but I really wish I had a video like this that told me all the super big and also the really small details to think about before getting a dog. Number one, the cost. This is super basic, but have you thought about all the things that you have to pay for and exactly how much it costs? Vet visits are probably going to be your biggest expense when you think about a dog. As a puppy, you'll spend a lot of time there getting their first couple of shots and vaccines, and during this time you won't really have to worry about flea and tick. But once you get past the 3-month mark, you have to start thinking about adding in the price of flea and tick medicine. For some dogs, they can come in one pill, but for other dogs, you're paying $20 or more for a flea pill and also for a tick pill. And then on top of that, you have to think about the price for a dewormer. Now, that's not something that you can really forego on, and that's usually the one that's the biggest cost. Some people choose not to give their dog a flea and tick pill, and they'll just buy the shampoo, which is cheaper because it's a bigger bottle and it'll last for a long time. But the heartworm is something that you cannot forego on. Heartworms are usually fatal in dogs, so you want to make sure that that is the one pill you're buying. Another big cost to think about is grooming. When I got my dog, we were going to the groomers at least twice a month, and when he was a puppy, it wasn't as expensive. PetSmart only charged about $25 for a pet bath and wash, but once he reached the 6-month mark, they started charging $50+ to get him cut. So that got to be pretty expensive considering all the other things I had to pay for. You might be thinking, oh, I'll wash them at home, it'll be easier that way. I think this is a great way to save money and keep up with the other more important things for the dog. But if you are going to be washing them at home, here are a few more things to consider. What kind of shampoo and how much is it going to cost? So you don't want to get your dog the cheapest shampoo you can buy because that can be really irritating to their skin. Sometimes the higher end shampoos that include flea and tick medicine, in case you're foregoing that option, can be a lot more expensive than you would think, up to the $25-$30 range. And yes, it will last you for a while, but that bill can start to add up. You should also think about the type of dog that you're going to get. If you're getting a dog that is super hairy, you're probably going to be cleaning out your shower drain a lot. I got a miniature Australian Shepherd and he had a really complex fur or coat pattern. For them, it's really important that you don't cut them too low. You want to keep it at a good length. So I was really scared to cut him on my own or really like brush him out too much. So I kept taking him to the groomer. Now, if you're getting another dog that doesn't really have this type of problem, it might not be that big of a deal, but those are all big things to consider. Another big cost to consider is buying toys. You want your dog to be super happy and entertained, and yes, there are those little cute toys you can get from Dollar General, but that is exactly what they are: cheap. I got those for my dog and he chewed through them. The little puppy teeth are detrimental to anything that you get. Believe me. I ended up having to go to the higher priced toys like Kong and Nerf balls. Those were the only things that he could not tear through. Those toys could range from around $15 to $30. Another important cost to think about is emergency vet visits. There's always the possibility that your furry friend will end up getting sick or injured and you'll have to take them to the vet. As a pet parent, you're going to want to make sure that your little furry friend is able to survive whatever sickness or injury they sustain. So you're going to take them to the vet. Those emergency visits can cost more than you would think. I've seen some people incur cost of $1,000 or more. Do you have that amount in your bank account, and are you ready to handle that for your dog? In review, there are a lot of important costs to think about, including vet visits, emergency vet visits, toys, grooming, and pills. The next thing to consider is, where do you live? If you're watching this as a college student, you more than likely live in a student apartment complex. It's important to make sure that your apartment complex allows pets. I had a super hard time finding an apartment complex that allowed me to bring my dog with me. So if you are coming into college and you're going to get a dog before you get there, you want to make sure that having the dog won't hinder you from finding a super nice and close place to campus. Now, even if your apartment complex allows you to have a dog, there is more than likely a pet deposit and pet rent to pay. Most pet deposits range from $250 to $500. then they want you to pay an additional $25 to $50 a month on top of your rent. Now I gave a range because it really depends on the size of the dog that you're going to get. So when you're choosing your dog, you need to think about the price you'll need to pay at your apartment complex. If you're getting a bigger dog, you're going to pay a larger amount every month on top of your rent. Another thing to consider about the apartment complex is it big enough? If you are going to get a bigger breed of dog, you want to make sure that your apartment is big enough to accommodate them. You don't want a Doberman or a Bull Mastiff in a super small apartment. They're going to be miserable, and so are you. The last thing to mention about your apartment complex is, do they have breed restrictions? Most places that allow you to have dogs will have a restriction on aggressive breeds, which means pit bulls. So this is another important thing to think about. So overall, you want to think about, does your apartment complex allow dogs? Is there a pet deposit? Is there pet rent? Is your apartment large enough? And do they have breed restrictions? Now, let's think about the time commitment that goes into taking care of a dog. Now, this is really for the people who plan on getting a true puppy, a dog that has not been house trained, that doesn't know any commands, plan on adopting, and you're getting an older dog. You can skip through this part. But for my people who are getting puppies, it is like having a child. And you have to dedicate a lot of time to making sure that your dog turns out the way that you want it to. And disclaimer, it still might not turn out that way. So can you dedicate the time? But it can take more than 6 months to house train a dog. Which brings us to another important point. Will your apartment complex have wood or carpet? If it's in carpet and you're getting a puppy, you're probably going to end up with a lot of stains in your carpet. And then also on the wood floors, it can cause a lot of damage. So be ready to pay for those damages as well. As a college student, will you be home a lot? What time are your classes? Will you be gone for more than 6 hours during the day? If you have a puppy, they usually can only hold their bladder for 2 hours. Maybe. You really don't want your dog to be in the cage all day, every day. I have nothing against crate training, but as a puppy, it's important for them to get the exercise that they need. Also, do you have the time to dedicate to training? This is another frustrating process that can take a super long time. I was fortunate enough to get a really smart dog who learned commands easily, but we did have a really big problem with barking, and that can be really hard to deal with in an apartment complex. You have to think about noise complaints, and that could lead to paying extra money. Another thing to add is, will you have the time to actually be with your dog? So let's say that you're going for 6 hours, but you have someone who can come and take the dog out for you. But then what happens when you get home? Are you one of those people that have to go to work? If you get home from school and have to leave right away, then your dog's here alone. Or let's say you're someone who's super focused on studying. You get home, let the dog out for 5 minutes, you come back in, and then you're sitting at your desk all day. Then what's the dog doing? Again, if you have an older dog, they probably don't care much. They're gonna wanna sleep anyways. But if you're getting a puppy, they're gonna want attention. They're gonna be clawing at you, up in your lap. And it's super cute to have them there, but you need to make sure that you're able to dedicate the time and give them the attention that they need. So that brings us to our next point, location and transportation. Now, if your apartment complex is dog friendly, then they more than likely have a dog park. With the dog park, you have easy access to walk, take your dog, let them play, meet other dogs, which is really important to let them burn out energy. Let's say you're at an apartment complex that allows dogs, but there is no dog park. Do you have a car that can take you to a dog park? Or is there room for them to run around? And if you're thinking, oh, they don't have to go to the dog park, that's absolutely true. But are you in a location where you can take them on long walks? If you're somewhere that's in the city, it may be hard to take a dog on a walk. Or if you get home from work late or out of school late, it's kind of dangerous to go walking super late at night. So in review, you want to make sure that your apartment complex has a dog park, or you have the transportation / means to get them to a place where they can get the exercise that they need. So just to recap, the things that you should consider before getting a dog in college are the cost, your apartment complex, the time commitment, and the location. Now, this is a disclaimer. I don't want you to take this video in the wrong way. If something is telling you that you really need a dog, you should do it. But you should consider all these things that I pointed out. As a student, your biggest priority is usually school. You want to make sure that you're not going to interrupt any of your flow. Considering these things will keep you from having to pick up extra shifts and interrupt the time that you normally study, because you're already prepared for the extra costs that are going to come with getting a dog. It's going to keep you organized. You're going to go ahead and block off time in your schedule for your new puppy to make sure they're getting the exercise that they need, they're getting your attention, and they're getting trained. I just want you all to be prepared to take on that big responsibility, but also be able to balance your work and school life. Well, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you can get all the best tips and tricks on studying, productivity, and organization. See you next time.